Hello everyone. On this video we will be looking at more types of angles. So we have your alternate exterior angles, your alternate interior angles, and your corresponding angles. Okay, so before we get started, you have to know these two things before we get started working on all of these. Okay, so first you have to know your parallel lines. Okay, so the parallel lines are lines that are the same distance apart and will never ever intersect. They'll never meet. Okay, so for example, these two lines are parallel lines. They go in the same direction at all times. These two lines are parallel lines. They go in the same direction each time. Doesn't matter how long you make each of these go on forever and they will never touch. Same thing with these two. These two are parallel lines. Again, if you stretch them out forever in either direction, they'll never ever cross. Okay, so I'm going to slide this up. If you're still writing, you can pause it. Now, when two parallel lines are cut by a third line, that cutting line is called your transversal. Okay, so let me get my protractor. Okay, so you have your two parallel lines. And if you cut this line in this way, this direction, it doesn't matter which direction. If you cut those two parallel lines, this line here is called your transversal. Look, let me move that up a little bit. There we go. All right, so as long as you know what your parallel lines are and your transversal is, you're good to go for the rest of it. All right, so if you are still writing, of course, feel free to press pause and keep going, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the next page. Let me go ahead and bring these back down. Okay, so we're going to start off with your alternate interior angles. Okay, now your alternate interior angles are on opposite sides of your transversal. Remember, this is your transversal, and inside your parallel lines. Okay, so if you notice, inside your parallel lines are C and D and E and F. Okay, so these are your parallel lines. These are the only angles inside your parallel lines. Okay, but the alternate interior angles are on opposite sides of your transversal. Okay, so you see here, angle C and angle F are alternate interior. Remember, if you just remember interior, they're inside your parallel lines. And alternate means on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so C and F are alternate interior angles. That also means that angle C is equal to angle F. Also, if you notice, angles D and E are alternate interior angles. That means angle D is equal to angle E. All right, so if you're still writing this, feel free to pause it and finish up. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next page. Let me bring that down. Now we have our alternate exterior angles. Now your alternate exterior angles on opposite sides of the transversal, just like the alternate interior, but in this case, they're outside the parallel lines. Okay, so remember the last one, your interior angles were inside your two parallel lines. These angles are inside the parallel lines. But angles A, angle B, angle G, and angle H are outside of the parallel lines. Okay, now when we're talking about alternate exterior angles, angle B and angle G are alternate exterior, and angle A and angle H are alternate exterior. Okay, so if you notice angle A and angle H on the outside of the parallel lines and opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so they're alternate exterior angles, which means that angle A is equal to angle H. Now, same thing with angle B and angle G. They're on the outside of the parallel lines and opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so that means angle B and angle G are alternate exterior angles, and angle B is equal to angle G. Now, in some cases, instead of equal to, you may see angle B is congruent to angle G. So you may see two equal signs. You may see an equal sign with a little tilde over it. Pretty much the same thing. Okay, so if you happen to see this symbol, don't get confused. Same thing. All right. So if you are still writing, of course, feel free to pause it and finish up. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page. And these are our corresponding angles. Okay, now corresponding angles are angles that are on the same side of the transversal and the same side of their parallel lines. Okay, so if you see here, A, C, E, and G are all on the same side of the transversal. B, D, F, and H are on the same side of the transversal. But if you notice on your two parallel lines, angles A and angles E are both on top of their parallel lines. Okay, so they're on the same side of their parallel lines. So that means angle A and angle E are corresponding angles. And that also means that angle A is equal to angle E. Okay, so same thing with angle B and angle F. They're both on the same side of the transversal, and they're both on top of their parallel line. So that means angle B and angle F are corresponding angles. Okay? It also means that angle B is equal to angle F. Okay? So now if we look at angle C and angle G, they're both on the same side of the transversal, and they're both on the bottom of their respective parallel line. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll this up. So that means angle C and angle G are corresponding angles. It also means that angle C is equal to angle G. Okay, so let me brew this down. So if you look at angles D and angle H, again, they're on the same side of the transversal, and they're both at the bottom of their parallel line. Okay, so scrolling back up, that means that angle D and angle H are corresponding angles. Okay, and it also means angle D is equal to angle H. Okay, so if you notice on some of these, I just wrote the angle, and then I wrote the angle with this little curve over it. You could see it either way. You may see angles written like this. You may see angles written like that. I just want you to be used to seeing both of them. They both mean the exact same thing. All right. So if you are still writing this, by all means, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page, which is our first example. All right, let me move this on down. There we go. Okay, so find the remaining angles when given one of the angles. Okay, so if you think you're ready, try to, using the steps from the previous page, from the previous few pages, all of those corresponding exterior, interior angles, alternate interior and exterior. Use those to find all of those missing angles. So go ahead and press pause and try it on your own. All right, so assuming you've pressed pause and already tried it, let's go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so the first one you want to start with from the previous video, if you remember, are your vertical angles, because they're always the easiest. Okay, so if you notice, this 60 degrees is a vertical angle from angle G. Okay, so angle G equals 60 degrees, and we use the vertical angle just to kind of explain how we got it. Okay, now if you look at angle 60 degrees and angle C, no, actually, if you look at angles B and G, we can start there. It doesn't matter which one you start with. If you look at angles B and G, they're alternate exterior angles. Okay, they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're both exterior angles. Okay, so angle B equals 60 degrees, and we know that because it's alternate exterior of angle G. All right, so next we'll start with angle A. Okay, so we see here, we know that angle B is 60 degrees, and angle A is vertical from angle B. So we know that angle A is 60 degrees. Vertical from angle B. Okay, so what about angle C? We'll go there. Okay. Well, with that one, you can use corresponding angles, but we don't want to use corresponding angles or anything like that because we don't have angle D. But we do know that angle C is equal to 120 degrees. Okay, how do we know that? Well, angle C and angle A are straight angles. They make a straight line, so they're supplementary. So angle A plus angle C equals 180 degrees. Remember, that's a straight angle. Okay, so angle A plus angle C equals 180 degrees. So we know that angle A is 60 degrees. So 60 degrees plus 120 degrees, so 180 degrees. Okay, so what about, move that on up. Let's say, which one should we do next? Let's say angle E. Okay, so we know that angle E is 120 degrees. How? Angle C and angle E are alternate exterior angles. So if angle C is 120 degrees, angle E is 120 degrees. Alternate exterior of angle C. Okay, so which one should we do next? Let's do angle F. So angle F, what do you think that equals? Well, angle F is equal to 120 degrees. How do we know that? Because it's vertical from angle C. Okay, so what about angle D? I think that's the last one we have. I think we got all of them. Okay, so angle D, what's that? Angle D is 120 degrees. How do we know? Well, it's vertical from angle E, but also its corresponding angle of angle F. Okay, so there's no one way to do it. You can find them using any one of these methods on any one of those angles. Okay? So there's, like I said, no one clear-cut way to do it. All right. So if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. And this one is an example that I want you to do. So I want you to go ahead and press pause and try to find those remaining angles on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've pressed pause and worked this one out. Okay, so the only angle given to us was 70 degrees. So let's go ahead and solve the rest of them. Okay, so 70 degrees and angle R are vertical. I always try to get my vertical angles out the way since they're the easiest. So we know that angle R is equal to 70 degrees because it's vertical from our given angle. Okay, so what about angle P? Okay, so we know that's equal to 110 degrees. How do we know? Because angle P and angle R is a straight angle. So we know a straight angle equals 180 degrees. Angle P plus angle R equals 180 degrees. Okay, so we know if angle R is 70, angle P plus 70 degrees equals 180, so angle P has to be 110 degrees. Okay, so what about angle Q? Okay, we know angle Q is equal to 110 degrees. Why? Because it's vertical from angle P. Okay, what about angle U? Okay, we know that angle U is 110 degrees. How do we know that? Because it's a corresponding angle of angle Q. Okay, what about angle T? Okay, we know angle T is equal to 110 degrees. Why? Because it's vertical from angle U. Okay, so each new side or each new angle we figure out helps us find the rest of them. Okay, so what about angle W? Okay, so we know that angle W equals 70 degrees. How do we know that? Because it's alternate exterior with the 70 degree angle that we were given. Okay, those two are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior with the angle that is 70 degrees. All right, so what about angle S? I think that's the only one we have left. Okay, angle S, well, we know that's 70 degrees also. How do we know? Well, it's vertical from angle W. We already know that one. All right. So, if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. Okay, so let's say we go ahead and get that. Okay, now we're going to look at the interior angles of a triangle. Okay, so the interior angles of a triangle always equal the sum of 180 degrees. So if you have a triangle that's ABC or XYZ or RST, it doesn't matter. It's always going to equal the sum when you add all three angles together. They're always going to equal 180 degrees. Okay, so for example, let's say for this triangle, angle X is 34 degrees and angle Y is 132 degrees. Let's find angle Z. Okay, so actually I want you to press pause and try to find this one on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've paused it and you've worked it out. Let's go ahead and verify. Okay, so we know that angle X plus angle Y plus angle Z equals 180 degrees. Okay, so we're solving for angle Z, so we want to get angle Z by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract angle X from both sides. Angle X, whatever it is, minus angle X is going to be 0, so those two will cancel out. And we're going to subtract angle Y from both sides. Whatever angle Y is, well, 132 degrees, we know what it is. So angle Y minus angle Y is 0. So it's just like saying 132 degrees minus 132 degrees. So we do that on both sides. So that leaves us with angle Z equals 180 degrees minus angle X minus angle Y. Okay, so that means that, move that up. Angle Z is equal to 180 degrees minus 34 degrees minus 132 degrees. So let me clean up this Y a little bit. Okay, so that means that angle Z, we do negative 134, negative 32 and negative 34 and negative 132, that gives us negative 166. So you have 180 degrees minus 166 degrees, which means angle Z is equal to 14 degrees. All right. So if you are still writing this, feel free to press pause and finish up. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our last example. Okay, I want you to try this one. So let's say angle X is equal to 29 degrees, 51 minutes. And angle Z is equal to 24 degrees, 34 minutes. I want you to find angle Y. Okay, so you should remember the degrees and minutes from the first angles video. All right, so I'm assuming you've pressed pause and finished it up. So let's go ahead and verify. Okay. So first thing we know is that angle X plus angle Y plus angle Z equals 180 degrees. So if we're solving for angle Y, we're going to subtract angle X from both sides and angle Z from both sides, like we did before. So angle Y is equal to 180 degrees minus angle X minus angle Z. Okay, so that means that angle Y is equal to 180 degrees minus 29 degrees 51 minutes minus 24 degrees 34 minutes. Okay, now if you remember, 1 degree equals 60 minutes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and add these two together, or combine these two. Okay, so for this, we're going to combine degrees with degrees and minutes with minutes. Okay, so we're going to do that right here on the side. Okay. Okay, so we know that negative 29 degrees, 51 minutes, minus 24 degrees, 34 minutes. Okay, so if we add just the degrees, that will be negative 53 degrees. Okay, now if we add or combine just the minutes, 51 and 34, that gives us 85. We have 85 minutes. Okay, so we know that angle Y equals 180 degrees minus 53 degrees and 85 minutes. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is remember that 1 degree equals 60 minutes. Okay, so we're going to just cut that off right here. So all we're going to do is we're going to now break down these minutes here. Okay, so we know that we write that as negative 53 degrees. So we're going to break this down into 60 plus whatever is left. So 85 minutes is plus, so it's 53 degrees plus 85 minutes. So it will be 53 degrees plus 60 minutes plus 15 minutes, because that's still the 85 degrees. So these two are equal, because all we did was break down the 85 minutes to 60 minutes. Oh, 25 minutes. There we go. Sorry about that. Is 60 minutes plus 25 minutes. Okay. Now, you see here, 60 minutes equals 1 degree. So this is negative 53 degrees. Well, you might as well say minus, or yeah, I guess we can save the minus and leave that until later. Since it's negative, we know it's going to be minus. So plus 1 degree plus 25 minutes. All right, so 53 degrees plus 1 degree is 54 degrees. 25 minutes. So go ahead and put that right there. Okay, so this is now angle Y is equal to 180 degrees minus 54 degrees and 25 minutes. All right. Now we actually can combine these two, believe it or not. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this 180 degrees apart. Okay. So if you remember that 180 degrees, you can make that equal 179 degrees plus 1 degree. Okay, so angle Y is equal to 179 degree plus 1 degree minus 54 degrees 25 minutes. Actually, you know, you don't really need the plus. We're just going to make it 1 degree. But it's assumed that you're adding those together. Okay, so you don't need the plus sign there. But if you want to put the plus sign just to make yourself feel a little more comfortable, you can do that. So you can actually just make it 179 degrees, 1 degree. But either method, you can do the same thing here. You can add these two together. You're good. Okay, so remember that 1 degree equals 60 minutes. So you have angle Y equals 179 degrees, 60 minutes, minus 54 degrees, 25 minutes. All right, so if we get our angle Y, 179 minus 54 degrees. Remember, we're combining our degrees. That's going to give us 125 degrees. And if we get our 60 minutes minus 25 minutes, that's going to leave us with 35 minutes. And that is actually your final answer. Okay, so with the degrees and minutes, as long as you remember that 1 degree is equal to 60 minutes, it's just a matter of almost borrowing. Okay, so that's all we're doing here. In these cases, we're just borrowing 1 and turning it into minutes. 1 degree and turning it into minutes. All right, so hopefully this made sense, and I will see you on the next video.